part 2 of the tutorial for the D Pro software, St Mary's College, building Cuesheets. Okay, so you've made your cues. We've got lots of them down here. You've been superb at getting the best lighting show for all of your actors or all of your performers wherever they happen to be at. But it is a bit of a pain just to keep clicking buttons and turning stuff on and off all the time when you're running the show. There's much easier ways of doing it, especially as if you're following a script, there is no deviation in the script for a light show, so the light show can just follow along with the script. So we're going to just turn all of these down. I'm going to find out where my other one is, new B over there, turn that one off as well. Now these two by the way are force a blackout. So if something's gone wrong in your light show, you can just click blackout and it forces all the lights to turn off. It's an active turn off, so it's not a power turn off. DMX is actually choosing to turn the lights down. So, cue lists. You've got your cues, you've got these ready to go. Time to make a cue list. I'm going to duck over to page 3 here. First things first, there's all my cues. You can see already we've got some cue lists. For example, the PL1 chase looks like this. And while it runs in the background, go. We can see what's happening on the screen to happening here. It takes its step, it's stepping through, the live monitor is showing it happening, and it goes through on a loop, so you can see how the loop shows that it fades up, it's on for a second or two, and then it fades out, and you can see that up here. So you've got to fade in for a second, you've got hold for half a second, and then it fades out for a second, and it gradually rotates its way through. Now all of this information is actually pretty useful, and you can change pretty much all of it. So you can change your cue, you can change the start trigger. When we build our own, we'll show you how to. You can change the action of what happens next. Usually it just runs in order, but it can do other things if necessary. And an important trap for beginning players is you can change the fades in and out. The default settings are basically this, and that means the hold isn't on for very long. Now that's very useful for a static performance, but with a very fluid performance, you will need to consider how that works. So let's close that one out and get rid of it. We're closing it all down, and let's start from scratch. New cue list. You've made all your cues. You can do new cue if you want, but new cue list lets us make our cue. Now, what are we going to call it? Who would know? New B, why not? There's our cue list, and you'll see that it pops down here. So we have all these ones here. These are our cues, and this is our new cue list. Double click on it, and you have this screen here. Now, adding cues is as simple as finding the ones you like, dragging it over and letting go. It will add them. See, now there's the fade in. See how it's at an angle like climbing the hill? By default, the fade is 1 second fade, it holds for 1 second, and then it fades out for 1 second. So if we were going to play this, it would fade up, hold, and then fade out. Now, you're not probably actually seeing that because there's nothing else in the cue list, and that's fine. So we press stop. One isn't really a cue list. Let's just grab a couple of others. We've got blue, and we'll change to red. All right, now if we were to play it again and have a look at it, it plays to blue, and then automatically plays the next cue. Because over here, action when done, once it's run the first cue, it automatically runs the next cue. And so it's built in. However, for a static show, we might need to hold certain colours for a while. So I'm just going to grab a few extras in, and I might even put my spotlight in just to show that we can. Each of these now is in our queue list. If we were to save it now, which we can do, we can save it as a queue list in here. However, we probably need to set up a few pieces. Currently, there's no trigger at all. So if you press go for your evening's light show, it just runs through permanently. And most people in a play or a drama production want a trigger to move from each cue. So we're going to stop it there. We're going to add that. In the start trigger here, you can double click and tell the computer what you actually want to do. Usually we use the spacebar, but it's up to you, which is why the option is here. You can say click to learn, and I'm going to press the spacebar. It's waiting for a key press at the moment. Spacebar. Okay. And you can see now, if we were to press go, it would run and wait for a trigger. Actually, it's probably going to run straight through, to be honest, because I haven't put my I haven't put them on all of them. I'm just going to add my all the way through. There we go. Click to learn. Sorry about that. There we go. Bringing it up, and it stops. It's now holding it there as its colour, as its first cue. Nothing will happen until I've tagged and pressed the spacebar, and it will change to the next cue. Now each cue is just one spacebar moving along, and you can put whatever you want in. Please notice, of course, oops, forgot to put that one in. Please notice that the fades still occur. You can still change them over here to get the effect that you want. If you want a hard cut of one of your effects, down here you've got these little tabs, and you can just manually just change them this way. Now, you can see that trying to do it on the video at the moment, but let's say we were to choose another cue. And I'll just go back to the start, run it through, see how it's got this fade here. I can change that fade to a much shorter fade. So if I was to run it, it fades up slowly and then just cuts out almost straight away when we press the space bar, and the next one fades in. You can do that manually here. You can do it down here using our little circles there, because we can stretch them across and change the whole show. So this is creating a long fade. So the first one comes up and holds and waits till the spacebar. Once you've pressed the spacebar to the next cue, it's turned off straight away, and then there's a really long, slow fade of colour. And you can tweak this to whatever you would like to do. Once you've finished changing all of them here, remember, you can do everything you want to here. You can change all of your actions. You can stop it, start it. The manual has extra features you can add in if you want to. And there's also advanced timings, which is beyond the scope of this tutorial. Once you've done all of that, save it, and it'll ask you, do you want to save the changes? You can say yes. And now that cue list is here and is still updated and still has all your settings in here. You can also add cue lists as buttons. Now that, if I turn it on, is running the cue list. Now we can't see the cue list, it's not available, but we do know that it still works by pressing spacebar to change and run the whole cue list there. So while that remains on, I've set it up so that as you tap the spacebar, it moves on for each of the activities. And of course, it's still possible to edit this cue list at any point in time.